Okay.
Yes.
So welcome to October's virtual meeting for IPMS Toronto / IPMS / AMPS / model stuff. So I guess tonight we're gonna have a couple things, right? So I guess Harvey wanted to talk about his big boat, right? His 1 to 200 scale that he's building, and I guess Brian will do a little presentation on Rochester.
Yep.
But I think we're going to start off first with is there anybody on here who's brand new? I don't think so. I think everybody's been here before, right? Oh wait, there, Ken. Sorry, Ken's waving.
Ken from Ottawa.
Ken's from Ottawa, right?
Ken, introduce yourself.
Member of IPMS Ottawa. What more can I
Ken
say?
from Ottawa.
Glenn is my fearless leader.
Oh, great, Ken. Welcome aboard. And what do you build?
Mostly maritime aircraft. Emphasis Royal Navy.
Right.
I'm new as well.
I do dabble in anti-aircraft guns. That's my one concession to armor.
Sorry, somebody else called out. Who was that?
Yeah.
Oh, Rod. Is that you?
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope, not today.
Maybe.
Who else is new?
I am.
Oh, there you are, Nathan. There you are.
Go for it, Nathan.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my bandwidth is bad, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Nathan. I'm in Muskoka right now. I'm planning on moving. Well, I'm going to be moving to Toronto, but haven't found a place yet because the market's crazy.
Tell us about
it. I mainly build armor. A lot of World War II stuff. Surprise, surprise. Also some figures and the odd aircraft.
What scale? Any scale in particular, Nathan?
Well, the armor is mostly 35th scale. The 48th and 72 is just too small for me, and mostly 48 scale aircraft.
Nice. Well, you fit right in. Now, how'd you hear about us?
Well, I was in Vancouver, and I used to hang out with some of the IPMS Seattle guys, and so I thought, well, because I was moving, I'd see if there was an IPMS in Toronto.
Is there an IPMS Vancouver group that's active? Do you know?
They weren't really very active. I was in Vancouver for 6 years, and they weren't really very active, so I kind of connected with the Seattle group, which was much more active.
Blackers.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody else. I think I looked through everybody else, and I think everybody's been here before, right?
Yeah.
So I see some faces that have come back, that I haven't seen in a while. Nice to see you're on. So good to see you again, right? And I guess everyone else there too, right? So,
yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, everybody's on. Good stuff. So let's start off by I guess Eric, I'll throw it to you, I guess, right? And we're gonna do like sort of like the on the tables shenanigans, right?
Yeah, let's get started with those shenanigans then. Evening, everybody. So I was sent, let's see, I got about I think it was 8 sets of models.
Nice.
And,
nice.
One link from Glenn as usual, and then Brian's Rochester pictures. So we'll do the Rochester stuff at the end. Go through alphabetically. All right.
Anthony's Jets.
Where is he? Yes.
Yep. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Whoa, nice.
yes.
I got a hard time to
F-16s.
get this mic working, but yeah, I'm just speaking here.
Oh, you are a bit
So
quiet.
what you're looking at is a couple of F-16. I guess everybody knows about F-16. I don't have to introduce it anymore. If you do not look with care, they may just seems like an identical aircraft to you, but actually there are 2 different aircrafts, even though that they are both based on the F-16 airframe. The one at the far end on the left-hand side is the F-16B. That is the, oh, by the way, they're both the Israel Air Forces. Israel happens to be the largest F-16 fleet operator out of the US, I believe. They got about 200 F-16s. flying around the country. Okay, back to the photograph. That the one on the left-hand side is the F-16B Block 40. So if you see that it's a block number with a 0 at the end, which means it uses the GE engine, which is a more powerful engine. So compared with the Pratt & Whitney engine, which is the one on the right-hand side, it's got a larger output, so it requires a bigger intake and a heavier landing gear, etc., etc. As a matter of fact, that the two aircraft here that you see here, the production time is actually 15 years apart. So there are quite a lot of differences among them. So for instance, I just talked about the engine, right? But there are the noticeable difference is the F-16I on the right-hand side. It carries the conformal fuel tank. So along with the 600-gallon fuel tank drop tanks, it ensures that the Israel Air Force can reach any capital city of all the surrounding Israel, the Arabic countries. Also I can identify at least 20 or 30 differences. The main differences is in the sensors and all this, also the radars. The radar is different as well, and as well as the dorsal or the spine at the top of the aircraft. The shape is also different. So if you can take a closer look, you can notice that the end of the left-hand side of the aircraft, it carries the parachute, while on the right-hand side it doesn't. So so back to the model itself, there are both the kinetic aircraft, kinetic kits. I think I bought them in around 2008, 2009, but it's been sitting in my stash for a long time until recently. I finished building it during the summertime. It's not a very good kit. It's a very notorious. So everybody knows about it. So the first time I opened up the kit, I mean, before the Israel F-16, if you ever want to build an Israel version, you gotta first of all buy the Hasegawa old kit, the double-seater F-16. Then you're gonna need to buy a whole bunch of wrestling kits to upgrade it to. But these wrestling kits, they don't actually fit together very well, and sometimes you may find out that the shape is really out of place. They're just wrongly made. So until Kinetic comes up with everything inside one box. So the first time you open the kit, you actually get very excited because it's got everything in there, until you start building them, putting them all together. Though, so you really start to realize all those problems, mainly about the fitting problems. But in the end, I feel okay. So I think the major problem that I found about this kit is where the in front of the front cockpit on the side panels actually in front of the front cockpit, and they don't fit very well. So I got to do a lot of things to make it look flush, to the fuselage. And other than that, there are a number of fitting issues as well. I don't want to go into too much detail, but the overall is that the aircraft itself, the shape, I think is still okay. I'm happy about the shape. What I not happy about is the surface detail. Even though that you may look at them, it carries all the surface detail, but with a couple of passes of the paint, it's going to cover up everything. It's not deep enough. It's not detailed enough. So the first thing to do before I ever build a cockpit is to restripe all the panel lines and all the rivets. It takes a long time, but eventually I think the result speaks for itself. It's pretty good. Now the picture that you're looking at right now is the F-16D that I put in a resin ejection seat by I think the company is called Rashin. It's a company, is a spin-off of
the Edward aftermarket.
That's right, yeah. Unbelievably detailed. It's remarkable. If you close up, zoom in, And the top of the seat is actually a parachute. And on the two side is actually an air sensor to sense the air to tell the parachute when to open it. And it's so detailed. I do not have actually any tools can bend these photo etch. And it's just incredible. So yeah, I think I think the other thing that I did to this particular one is to rebuild the cockpit, because of the original kit, the side console is kind of like a tilt at an angle. I don't think it's correct. So what I did is to take that apart and rebuild it using plastic sheets to correct the angle, the tilting angle. And all the weapons are from another company called Skunk Model, which is a spin-off of Kinetic as well. But at that time, you know, Kinetic decided to market them into two separate boxes, so I had to buy them separately, especially the Python 4 missile that you're seeing right now.
Right.
Later on, I know Kinetic roll out another box which contains everything. Now, recently, Kinetic just announced a retooling of the F-16. Probably it's because all those negative comments that they received from the internet or all sources. I don't know how it's going to measure up with today's technology. I hope there will be some improvements. Questions?
What paint did
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Lorenzo, go ahead.
what paint did you use for the camo?
Oh, it's actually from a MIG box. So it contains all 4 colors, so you don't have to color match them. And you know, it's acrylic, so the opacity is very good. So this little box here, you can actually paint 3 kits, no problem.
All right, very good.
I got a question.
It's an excellent job on it. I've seen the one on the right. I keep forgetting which block it is. I saw them with the Greek Air Force, and they were flying at about 500 feet off the sea that we were sailing in, and they were basically just playing around the islands. But I talked to a Greek officer on a bus one day, and he said, if you see 2, they're training. If you see 3, something has happened. So it was too much information. But the guys were having a blast going between the islands we were sailing in, like right up the channels, and you know, they were just having fun practicing.
I had a question.
One more.
Yeah, the canopy, the one there has a gold canopy. What process did you use to get the gold on there?
Oh, it's just Tamiya paint, as far as I remember.
Okay,
So I mask off the
yellow.
I mask the clear yellow. Yeah, clear yellow. If you go back to okay, there is one photograph that's showing the ejection seats. This particular one. You know, another thing is, you know, I have to reiterate, Kinetic is love and hate. I mean, I love all of the surface detail, but just like I said, it's not easy to show after you have a couple of coats on it. Now, another thing is that the canopy, you can see that it doesn't fit into the fuselage.
No.
First, I thought it's my bad build, but the second one happens to have the same issues. So I guess it's more than just my skill. So the many things that you need to be very patient with the Kinetic kits. Otherwise, it could be a perfect subject to do.
One quick comment or sort of addition to the new Kinetic kit that's coming out, because I'm pretty sure this is what we're talking about, is a 1/48 scale or 48 scale kit at Wheels and Wings, just by the door. It's a test shot of the new one, and
I read the article. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So and apparently it's supposed to be amazing and and one of there's a very prominent F-16 builder and painter that was involved in fixing all the mistakes that the company initially made. So it's supposed to be like the bestest ever, whatever. Anyway, that's
is that the C/D? Which variant of the Kinetic is the new one? Is that the C/D?
Well, it's the what do you call it? The ML midlife upgrade MLU. That's right. So
Okay.
it's supposed to be a Block 45, an earlier version.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure that with the airframe done, the basic airframe done, they can roll out additional variants.
All right. Well, thank you, Anthony. I think we got a lot to get through, so I'll keep moving it along. Bill, you are up next. Whoa.
Yes, okay. These what I've got here are a set of Bandai Star Wars kits I've done up. These are the small scale ones. These aren't the 72nd scale, obviously. That's the Executor that was first seen in the original second Star Wars movie. And, Revenge of the Empire, or whatever it's called, I forget. I should know these things. Yeah, that's it.
I think you're trying to trigger some of us there.
Yes,
that was intentional.
That's actually how big it is.
Oh, you're holding it. That's tiny.
Boy.
Okay, that's actually how big it is. It's about 6 inches or so.
Wow.
Yeah, and what I did there is it's actually a darker color, gray, than most of the other ships, and so I used various Tamiya colors, mixed them up, and I didn't dry brushed detail like the highlights, so they stand out a little more. Use some of the Tamiya panel line to go with the gray color to fill highlight some of the lower bits and pieces. So that's actually it works out pretty good, surprisingly. And the detail, you can see, look at the detail there on the lower part of the engines. That's Bandai's detailing for these small kits is quite amazing. It's you wouldn't expect to see that much kind of levels of whatever you want to call it for something that small. Anyways, that's the regular Star Destroyer, and just to give you a bit of a idea, that's how big that guy is. That's about maybe 3 inches. Again, that's supposedly the movie. What you see in the movie, obviously, because of movie lights, it looks white, but it's actually kind of a darker gray. I guess if you've built the larger Rebel Star Destroyers, you know that. But again, it's for the size, it's amazing, nice little detail. I used again the gray panel line markers to give a bit of three-dimensional look there, and I guess it's relatively simple builds. It's more the painting and getting things ready to go on it. The next one I think is
Nice.
and that's the
Very nice.
Millennium Falcon, and that's the size it is. Show you in relation. And again, that of all the parts here, that's the one that had the most parts. It had about 15 or 20 individual little parts to go in, because all the stuff along the sides are individual parts. The radar dish, the cockpit, stuff like that. Again, basic white, and then using white primer, and then using Tamiya's racing white to the base, and then using some beige, and then different other colors to fill in the panels that are distressed. Then using the panel line marker gray and black to do the exhaust ports and sort of dirty it up. That's the underside. No one ever sees the underside of the ship.
It didn't come with any decals, did it?
What's that? No. Oh, yes, it did. Actually, it did.
The little ones come with stickers, I noticed, but no decals.
Yes. I didn't use them because they don't fit properly.
Yeah,
and again, here that's all those little panels and everything come as individual stickers, and they're about sometimes a couple of millimeter by a couple of millimeter, and it's just too finicky to try to set them up.
Yeah.
So I just painted them on and scratched detail. You can't tell what it is, so it's the best. for what the size it is a pretty good, very good representation.
Mm-hmm.
Now this guy here is obviously the Y-wing. And again, I forestall using the decals, the stickers, because they wouldn't fit around the cockpit properly. So I searched through the the database and saw that there's a whole lot of different colors for the Y-wing. So I picked that color. And there's the Y-wing there in size. That's interesting. The actual color orange that I'm using is considerably darker than what came up in that photo. Or is it just me the way oh, there, if I move the laptop screen, it becomes a little better. But yeah, it's again, it's hand painted. It's it's not the best thing. I tried for the weathering on the nose cone. I put paint on it, then I blew on it to sort of blow the paint away to look as if it's kind of the impact of whatever they fly through and everything else, weathering and such. Again,
I see here.
Yeah. Again, the use of the gray and black and the deep brown panel line marking to sort of indicate rust and dirt and everything else.
Very nice, Bill.
That's it. Should be it. I'm working on a starfighter, but that wasn't quite ready yet. The panel lines on them are okay, but it's the decals are kind of funny. You can't really see it, can you? No, it's kind of hard to see. But I'm using the decals or the stickers as a mask to sort of follow what I want to paint on. Then I'll cut off the stickers and paint those individual squares by hand.
Is that also a Bandai kit?
What's that?
Is that
Yes,
also
that's
Bandai kit?
yes, another Bandai kit. Yeah, all 5 of them were Bandai kits.
Interesting. I didn't know Bandai also made stuff from the prequels. Okay.
Oh yeah, yep.
Tons of them.
Yes. You can spend lots of money on them.
Yeah. And they're really, really good.
Yes. Well, that's the one like the one that Harvey did there for a couple of video things back last year or 2 years ago. That's the large scale. Like it's about 2 feet in diameter, Harvey.
Yeah. It's the 72nd one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a perfect grade.
Yeah. Perfect grade.
Eric, what do we got here?
Very nice.
All right. Over to Brian then.
Hey, that's my bike, man.
This is nice. This is
another Star Wars
Like
stuff.
you have, Harvey.
This is
Have
really
all of that
cool.
too.
This is really cool.
Seriously, man. I think I had one like that. Or my
Yeah,
neighbor.
no, this is a Schwinn Stingray. This was the fancy schmancy Corvette of kids' bikes back in the 60s. And the reason you think you probably had one is because every other company out there copied it. I had a bike.
Yeah, it was a CCM Mustang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a bike that was sort of the same configuration as a little kid too.
Wow.
But this is the original, the Schwinn Stingray in red, called the Apple Crate. The kit itself is from about 1991. Sorry, 1971. It was a vintage kit, and I took it to Rochester actually and entered it in the vintage category. Got silver there, which is better than I thought I'd do.
Great.
But first thing off the dot is that everything in this kit comes with chrome all over. That fake, thick, heavy MPC automotive chrome. And it was my first time trying to remove this stuff. I went through all the suggestions people made. So the first thing I tried was Windex. That didn't do anything. Then I tried bleach, and that didn't do anything either. Then I tried some oven cleaner, and that didn't do anything either.
Wow.
Then I tried some extra super heavy duty oven cleaner, and that kind of got some off, and I had to really work at it and scrub it and keep it going.
Wow.
It was insane, right? It was insane, right? Trying to get this stuff up. Nothing else even kind of worked a little bit. I don't know if it was a weird formulation or what.
It was probably asbestos. I wouldn't worry about it, Frank.
After all kinds of crap getting all that stuff off, I then finally had some parts that were sort of okay to use. The oven cleaner left some weird white residue on there. I don't know if anybody's seen this or dealt with this issue at all.
Actually, it makes it look more realistic.
Yeah,
it does. Kind of.
Yeah. In any case, so I removed the chrome and I replaced that with AK Super Chrome, which is a new product, and it's really quite good. It's kind of knocked back here because it's very delicate. And next time I use it, I'm going to try and experiment with using Tester's Metallizer sealant on that. I got an extra bottle of that when we were in Rochester. And, you know, it looks okay the way it's come out here. It helps to have been a bike mechanic in a former life. I did it in red with ivory, not white, because I thought the ivory was a little bit more of a vintage look to it. The kit itself, tons of issues because it's so old. Ejector pin marks everywhere, seams everywhere, right? And it was just, you know, into the painting hood, put primer on it, pull it back. No, there's more seams, clean up, primer, sand, back and forth. And all the parts are very spindly and delicate. And you have to be very careful of that. It gets very stressful. And then all the parts have to have chrome on it. And the chrome is very delicate and it gets very spindly and delicate. And I almost got an ulcer making this stupid thing, but learned a lot from it. And I got a result that's okay. The cable housing that comes with it is wildly out of scale. In real life, they'd be like big, thick garden hoses. So I omitted those. I was going to put some guitar string in place, but then suddenly the situation with shows suddenly changed and I didn't have any time to do that. But so it came in second, like I said. And it's a pretty good kit if you're prepared to put up with all the tedium and being very careful and delicate. Every single part held up and nothing broke. So that was very nice.
What scale is that?
Some of my friends
This
who
is-
rode those called them the ball breakers because of the gear that's used.
Yeah. I
We
think
had
it's
lots
1/8.
of stories of kids getting wrecked.
Yeah. I think it's 1/8 scale.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Well done.
Now, was that something as part of another model or was that by itself?
This is by itself. This is MPC sells this. They also sell the Continental, which is a road bike, and I have that. I'll be doing that at some point. And yeah, maybe I'll get another one of these things if I'm feeling masochistic, right? But it is a lot of work for what it is, and it is very spindly and delicate. But yeah, you can
looks
make
very
a good
nice.
result of it. Yeah.
Ryan, what scale it is?
Like I said, I think it's 1/8.
Oh,
I'd have to look it up again. Remember, it's a kid bike, right? I guess there's no.
Brian, out of curiosity, were you ever able to find like 1/8 scale clothespins and 1/8 scale hockey cards that you could put into the
Scratch building, right? Maybe for the next one I'll do something like that. That'd make some sense, right?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Good.
It's got to be Bobby Hall. It's got to be authentic though, right? It's got to have the right card.
Yeah, you can feel the money evaporating.
Yeah. Very nice.
So,
all right, we'll skip over the Rochester work and then Derek. Let's see, which is the first one you want here?
The second one is the first.
There you go. I'll keep jumping back before I switch.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I've taken the opportunity to jump down a deep rabbit hole, and it's called an Airspeed Ambassador. It's a vac
vacuform.
Yeah, it's a vac form kit. That's the only thing available in 72nd scale by Historic Wings, who I think took other vacuform people's products and made the thickness of the plastic much thicker. So it's a different kind of kit. But Historic Wings, in my experience, has a bad habit of presenting parts that are dimensionally not exactly correct. And their detail parts, I got some soft metal detail parts with the kit, which are best remembered by the impression they make on the wall. So I don't know who knows anything about the Airspeed Ambassador. It was an early 50s kit aircraft when Britain was just getting back into the commercial aviation business after the war. The Americans had the monopoly because they had transport duties during the war, and they were well developed in planes like the C-54, DC-4, Constellation, etc. So the Americans were out ahead, and the British were scrambling. So they set up a committee called the Brabazon Committee, headed by Lord Brabazon, who was going to choose the next airliners for the British aviation industry. And Airspeed Company, which previously had produced relatively non-spectacular airplanes like the Hotspur, the Envoy, the Horsa glider, developed the Ambassador, which was a winner. It was extremely elegant and graceful in contour. The wings were laminar flow and highly polished. It was a 2-engine high-wing plane, which I think was the grandfather of subsequent middle-sized commuter airplanes like the de Havilland Canada Dash 7 and 8, the Hanley Page, I forget their product, Herald, Fokker Friendship, de Havilland Canada, Caribou, and Buffalo. So it was a winning formula. Anyway,
Did Welch do a model of that?
they did it, I think, in 144.
Oh, this is 72nd?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Winston Churchill, on his trips to France after the war, insisted on traveling on the Ambassador instead of the later Viscount. And the Ambassador became known as the Elizabethan. It was really a very classy airplane, but it only lasted a year or so because it was, in fact, outcompeted by the newer Viscounts. It had 2 Bristol Centaurus engines, which powered the later Hawker Tempest models, and I can show you pictures of that later. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you this picture is the bike. Okay, I'll go ahead. The reason for this picture.
Hold on, David.
Just mute us all.
Okay, it's done.
Go ahead. Back?
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
So the reason for showing this first picture is the biconvex cabin windows, which I think in 70 scale, biconvex windows or any window on a decal sheet doesn't cut it. Maybe in 144, but not 72. So I wanted to make windows that would match this shape and size. And here you see at the bottom of the picture, I have generally biconvex elliptical windows on each side of the aircraft. You'll notice that I've cut out the top here for reasons which we'll see in the next picture.
All right, which one do you want to put up next?
The one on the left, the first one. So I've delved into this deep rabbit hole, and here I am with the 2 sides of the fuselage. I wanted to make the biconvex windows, which you can see in position here. So there was no way around it but being original. So I got 2 pieces of plastic, stuck them together, and carved the end into a biconvex shape of the same shape and size as on the decal sheet. Then I got a soft plastic sheet, heated it with a cigarette lighter, and plunge molded it down onto this male shape here. By then I had drilled large round holes with a round drill bit where the windows should be. And I made about 20 of these, which is how many windows there are, and put them into the large round holes, line them all up as best as possible in terms of left, right, and up, down, and rotational positions, and superglued them into place. Each one of these things I superglued into place. I had superglued it with the top end of the female mold a little bit proud of the surface. And when I sanded the whole surface down, I sanded off the top of the mold, and I was left with the internal shape, which matched this biconvex window shape as good as could be. I was first thinking of going with metal, but I couldn't shape metal to make those windows. So I resorted to making the plastic window borders out of this shape here and using this method. So that was pretty challenging as a first step in the model. Oh, you'll see 2 white strips here. Historic Wings has presented us with a model which is about 1.5 centimeters too short. So after checking dimensions, I had to stretch the model by that much, which is why I cut out the top of the fuselage, and the wing carry through part of the fuselage I connected to the wings and separated from the fuselage because it would no longer extend over this distance. Let's go to the next picture.
This one?
No, the one at the right, yeah.
All right.
So I'm a little bit further ahead. Windows in place. Body halves primed. I'm checking dimensions, and I don't know if you guys will notice, but I love Lego.
That's no problem.
I use it for all my alignments, like this wing unit at the bottom. You can see alignments as close as possible, and it's actually pretty good when it works. So these are the wings. The undercarriage door openings were in different places in each half, so I'm guessing as to where the correction should be. This is the body plug, which I've pulled out of the fuselage halves that you see up in the top of the picture. Two sides of the body plug joined together, and these things going across are not clothespins, clothes hangers. Large metallic clothes hangers, which I've used lengths of to line up the wings and hold them rigidly in position. So I have a saying that that goes, it's not what you have, it's what you do with it. So, so here I'm using these clothes hangers as metallic struts between the wings. I'll show you some pictures as next session goes on, but the engine cowlings and nacelles were completely useless, and I had to scratch build and replace them completely. Let's go to the next picture. This is much later in the build. It's a very close-in picture, but the wing and engine have been joined to the fuselage body. I've given it a white surface, and here are my biconvex elliptical windows as close as possible and lined up reasonably straight.
Oh.
So, and here's a little speck of something sticking out that I'll have to attend to. Anyway, much later, I will be I will be closing the windows with crystal clear or liquid resin, and that's another discussion. But to this point, I've painted the undersurface in what's called Royal Aircraft Gray, and I lightened it up quite a bit because I thought it was very dark. I've used Tamiya TS gloss white, sprayed neat using a line here for the top, because the airliner tops are always painted white to keep the cabins cool. Anyway, so the airplane is known for its red cheat lines along the fuselage and along the engine cowlings and nacelles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a sheet of insignia red decal that I have, use this edge line as a border, and lie the decal right down as a cheat line over the windows. But you're destroying the windows. Well, actually, when the decal is dry and a long thick red stripe, I'm going to punch out the windows out of the decals. And first, it's going to be very rough and irregular. But if I use a small file, I can just edge the decal to the edge of the window as much as possible, and then repair and touch up as necessary. Oh. So this is a picture of the completed elliptical windows. This is a wheel bay above with the wheel doors in position, which also had to be borrowed from the stores box. The front wheel doors, as you can see, are closed. I used little bits of brass pipe put in my drill bit to make circular round whatevers, but you just drill them in and make a small hole, and you've created a round surface impression in the surface. So that's as far as I've got. I've actually got a lot further, but these are the pictures to show you the early problem with the windows. The tail surfaces were another challenge. And as I said, the engine cowlings and nacelles were an extreme further challenge. So I'll show pictures as I go on, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And this will be a very unusual Airspeed Ambassador.
There's a historical note to these aircraft. One of these crashed in Germany, killing quite a few of the Manchester United soccer team.
Yeah, football team.
Wow. Well, Derek, kudos, man, because like who's building Vacuform? Really, that's fantastic. And I think you'd have the only model of this thing that anybody's ever seen. So.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks a bit like
us. It's fantastic. Yeah, that's true modeling, man. That belongs in one of those old Airfix hardcover magazines, you know. The only here's a tip. The only thing that I noticed with Crystal Clear, if you're going to use that or any type of PVC glue for the windows, is I just finished. I haven't even shown it to you guys. I finished a Kant 1015 where the canopies in the cockpit window were all like just like this. They're empty holes. There's no glass, and I had to fill them. And what I noticed, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but the windows I did on the canopy were all with PVC glue. It went on perfectly until the last one. I just couldn't get the last one to settle. You'd fill it in, and then when it dried, a hole would appear. I go, what the heck? And what was happening is you need some air in there for the white glue to properly cure. So if you're filling all these and you find that the last few don't settle, you might have to drill a small hole in the fuselage for some air in. That's what I had to do, and it fixed it. So, yeah, it's always with the last window. It won't cure properly because it's airtight.
I know we've discussed this before, and whether to go with crystal clear or resin, and I prefer resin. It's a longer, slower process, but I get a perfectly flat window because it's a liquid at first.
That's true.
Just like crystal clear, but it has a certain solidness look to it that I prefer over crystal clear.
Well, that would solve your problem then. So yeah, you're right. Stay away from PVC then in this case. Yeah, great build.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. Moving on, Lorenzo.
Hello.
Still with us?
Hey, Lorenzo.
That's not a Phantom.
That's his cousin. No. That's an A7C Corsair. That
I was going to say Corsair, yeah.
That's a scale. 72 scale. It's a Fujimi kit. And it's part of, and that's the the next one. They're all together. The next one is the A4. It's part of my collection of aircraft that were used to destroy SAM sites during the Vietnam War. They're both Navy aircraft, and I'm just getting primed up and starting the paint process on them. They're both Fujimi kits.
Very nice.
Yes, very nice.
And
I'm sorry. Do you paint with the pylons?
Well, that one I had to put those ones on because, geez, I can't remember why. Anyway,
that's madness.
I just put those two on, but normally I don't though. Yeah, that's the AMP P40L. What is that? The Warhawk.
Tomahawk.
Or the Tomahawk, yeah. Yep. And the front of it is it's all resin from the wing forward. I can't remember the name with the kit. I've had that kit for like 15 years. I'm just trying to finish it off. It's going to be a Tuskegee Airman in desert camouflage. So I primed it with the bare metal silver, and because I want to do some chipping on it. So next is I guess I'll be doing the camo work on it when I got time.
Is the P40 a P40F? I didn't hear that.
It's I believe it's the F. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because the nose plug is for that particular variant that they give you. So you got to hack off the nose and join that on and fill. Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. And
the shot. This is the same A4 from earlier.
I think there's one more shot of something. There she is.
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah. The continuing saga of the F-14 Tomcat started in the year 2000. I'm just kidding.
Looking good.
I'm trying to do that. You know how the Navy aircraft are all like modeled and ugly, all different shades of gray. So I'm just starting to do the bottom of it and marble it first, black base it, do the marble coat, and then various shades of gray in it, and then do it with the final color, and it all kind of give you that real patchy look kind of thing.
That looks really good there, Lasagna.
Coming along. Oh, there's a P48, and that's my
awesome
story.
That's your story. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maurizio. All right.
Aha.
Latest in the saga.
All right, have a good stuff.
Yeah, so finally finished. This started, I just went back to check when I got this thing started. It was back at the end of April, and I took June off, but yeah, it was a really terrific learning experience for me, and I had a bunch of challenges that I'll talk to you about. But yeah, basically, biggest challenges, one of them was the painting on this thing. So originally what I was planning to do is to get, as I did in the past, to get my son to draw the artwork for me. And then that would go off to a decal maker and I'll get this custom decals back. Unfortunately, my son got busy and maybe a little bit lazy. So I was kind of waiting on him and it wasn't happening. So I decided that it was time for me to figure something else out. So I ended up doing all of this through paint and masking. And, you know, it took me a while, especially the pinstripes. I think the auto guys would probably laugh at that. But for me, it was a bit of a new experience. It took me a while to get it right. And then, you know, what I couldn't paint. So all the side panels are all paint. The 22 is the only thing that I actually created a decal for, but I had to have a white background. So I had sort of a stencil that allowed me to paint the back white, because otherwise the yellow wouldn't show on a transparent film once you apply it to dark paint. So that's decal, and those two flags in front are decals. The rest it's paint. You want to turn to the next one, Eric? So that's just another view. The penguins are also a decal, which I replicated as close as I could by grabbing stuff off of Google Images and kind of smashing it together. And the rest was stencils that I used with my, I made with my Cricut. Next. And that's
what is the name of this vehicle?
Sorry, so the vehicle is called Kharkovchanka. So this was a sort of a Frankenstein thing that was put together by the Soviets back in 1959 to explore Antarctica. And it was based on a chassis of a tank, which is basically an elongated ATT tractor chassis with 2 more wheels. And on top of that, they built the superstructure, which would house up to 8 crew, and it had, and you'll see it in a minute because it's got a full interior, but it had you know, bunk beds, it had a kitchen, it had a radio room, and so on and so forth. So it's a real vehicle with a lot of history. Back then it was painted orange when they first, you know, went through the first exploration, went from Mirny Station, which is actually what's written on in the front of this vehicle. That's Mirny in Russian, and went to the South Pole, but they kept these vehicles in service. So they repainted it in the 90s and kept it in service until around the 2010. So it's an old vehicle, and they ended up giving it the sort of green livery. And those
That's
two
cool. Is that a kit or is that a scratch build?
No, this is scratch build. So the only thing that's built from a kit is the underside. So the top, the wheels, and the tracks are from a trumpeter kit. Everything else on top of that is all scratch. Next.
Wow, it's impressive.
Yes.
Thank you. And so that's just a little bit of fun, you know, looking at the interiors, because I also lit it, and I'll show you in a minute how I did that, but I lit it with LCDs. So there's a little button in the base, you push that and you get light, and you can see inside, and it's you know, it's kind of what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. Next picture.
Qu'est-ce que je veux?
Yeah, so that's
je t'en appelle
so those are
31
hold on, Maurizio. David, can you mute Gates, please?
Bon, c'est ça j'ai dit.
Thanks.
David, you there?
Yeah,
there he is. Okay, good.
Yeah, so those are sort of work in progress photographs, but and so you can see when I was kind of working on the interiors, and you know, you've seen some of these in the previous meetings. But the thing that one of the challenges, I talked about the paint job that was challenging for me. The second thing that was really kind of took a little bit of the wind off my sail here was that sometime in July, when I came back to it, I sort of made the horrible discovery that I made this thing too wide. So I was working off of a plan, and this is so lesson learned for me on scratch building is do not attempt scratch building unless you have a really good plan you can trust, because if you don't, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And sometimes you got to work on ratios and stuff, fine, but you really need to have something solid to hang on with, because otherwise you're probably going to miss some stuff. So I did. So I made this vehicle 4 meters wide, four scale meters wide in the original design, and I put everything together. I put the side panels on, and I was almost ready to close it up. And to my horror, I went back to some references and discovered that another reference said this is supposed to be 3.5 meters, not 4. So basically I had to, and I confirmed that through some other ways, you know, through some photographs. And then I started studying the photographs in a different way, and I could tell that I had made that mistake. It was real. So I basically had the option of just leave it as is and kind of close it up and finish it and just put it out of my mind, and who the hell is going to know about it, or figure out a way to actually fix it at the risk of basically screwing up the model. And after a day, I basically thought, you know, I didn't feel the passion for keeping it as is and finishing the model. I thought I'm not going to be interested in wanting to finish it, knowing that it's majorly messed up. So I said, I'll give it a try, and, you know, I'll take a risk, but I got to fix it. So I basically had to tear everything down again, from glue and all that. I got it to the point where it almost looked to me like you were renovating a house. You're tearing down everything, taking out the kitchen, the furniture, et cetera, et cetera. I got it to that sort of third photo at the bottom left corner, and then using basically using various, you know, basically my knife really. I scored the sides and cut 7 millimeters off of the 2 sides, which gave me the right proportion. And in the end, I had to kind of readjust some things, but to my surprise, everything kind of fit. So if you see the last picture on the bottom right, the top one, you can see it's wider. The one below, it's narrower.
Oh yeah.
And everything does fit. It's just a little more compressed. So, which kind of proved to me that in a sense, it wasn't, you know, it was real. That 3.5 would have worked, and it was the correct thing to do, and everything still kind of fit. So
nice.
So, you know, I had to remake some things. I had to remake the sides, rebuild them, because when I took them apart, they broke, and so on and so forth. But in the end, my choice proved a good one. And of course, when you do it all again, you end up actually making a whole bunch of tiny little changes that are actually better than the first time around. So in some sense, you know, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. But what it did teach me is it's not the kind of thing you really want to happen in the middle of your build. So you got to have good plans to go by. And sometimes the plans you do get, like the one I had, even though it looked authoritative, was just simply wrong. So it misled me. Yeah. Next photo. And that's just that's what I did to rig the roof so that it would be lit. So it's basically what you're seeing on the top left is just a sheet of transparent acrylic. And what I did is I ended up taping these LED lights. And in the end, I just had two wires, copper wires that kind of ran almost like a little electric bus from, you know, the front to back. And I soldered each of the leads of the LEDs to these 2 wires. And then kind of, you know, the sort of bottom left there, I masked where the LEDs were. I had taped them on top just to make sure that they sort of secure, and then super glue them and tape them with this yellow tape, which gave a nice yellow warm light. And then I masked them, I primed them so that you would just see sort of the overheads, and soldered the leads, and then ultimately closed it and sealed it. And so it's now sealed, so you can't really, you know, pop it open. I wanted to be more realistic that way. and also allow the viewer to then sort of get lost in the interior by trying to peek around from the outside once it was lit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, this is just an idea, Maurizio. When you display the model,
yeah,
it's going to be when you're in a room with a lot of lights, it's going to be hard to see the neat little lights inside.
Yeah.
You could perhaps build a little wood box that you can, as an option, put over the model, kind of like a shadow box.
Yeah,
and
that's
turn
a-
on your lights, and so people can see both, right?
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, but that's cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Really awesome.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what's coming next. Rod, we got your shots next. A little bit of a tour of your workshop and some of your models.
Holy cow.
Holy mackerel.
And this is,
Sure.
well, yeah. So second meeting, hello again for the first time. That little 72nd scale piece of armor is not everything that I build. So yeah, a couple of perspective shots. This is pretty much where I do the work. So you can see the display cabinets on the far end. I took about a 30 some odd year hiatus from painting. So I've still got some alclad lacquers that I haven't cracked yet. I've got enamels that I was using, et cetera, et cetera. Once I got back into this, I went after MMP acrylics with a vengeance. So that's number one. There's models scattered all over the place. Like pretty much, if you look at the display case, the top left shelf is armor, and that's pretty much the only stuff that I would consider actually finished. There's a couple up there that won some medals a long time ago, but whatever, it's not a big deal. Everything else below that is pretty much paint mules. Like everything that I'm doing now is experimentation. I've taken, can't even count how many, and I've repainted a bunch of stuff. You can see the second shelf, like the second shelf from the bottom. I mean, obviously, there's a couple of pictures that are a little bit closer, but I'm just saying from this distance, second shelf from the bottom, left side, there's, I don't know how many pieces of armor in there. I've repainted them. I've experimented on different types of weathering with these new paints, thicker mixtures, thinner mixtures, different colors. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. You can advance, just pick a shot and I'll just explain what we're looking at.
Yeah.
There's the bench. Should be obvious. The black one right almost just left of center is Hurricane. That is also an experimental paint job for night black. It is not black. It's very, very dark, but I'm working with very, very dark gray, and then it's actually not coming along too bad. The two airplanes in front of that, there's a closer shot that you guys will see. Those are also those are experimental. Those are yeah, I'm looking at all the scratch building and stuff. Right now, I'm just focusing on getting a clean build and clean paint. And what I mean is no flaws in the construction, no visible flaws in the construction, and no visible flaws in the paint. And it's getting closer. So feeling pretty good about that.
Man, that's cool how you got that vent for your air spray booth going up to your master bedroom. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Could you go back?
Yeah, go back. Where's that? Seriously, where's that vent going? That's really cool.
That goes up to the mezzanine, like up. I've got a patio door up there.
Oh wow, that's ingenious. That's great.
That's clever.
And on that, there's a big green mat closer to us, and there's like a little table with a what is that? Some kind of tool, or is it a model, or what is that?
That's actually the generator. What do they call it? The generator house with a crane on it. And in the next picture, you'll see that goes on the back end of a Krupp K5 railway gun.
Excellent.
So
I was
there's
worried
the
that I'd have
trucks.
to find a new tool and buy it.
No, but that's what I mean. I got models all over the place in various stages of construction and finishing. So you can't actually see the gun, which is behind the gondola. I scratch built parts of those railings, the ladders on the ends and the sides because it was easier to just scratch build the rungs than it was to actually sand all those little ladder rungs. And then the piece in closer to us with the gray center, that actually sits inside the gondola. So I got to put all the innards back in. I got to weather it first, put the innards back in it, then slip that inside the gondola, and then start putting everything back together.
Hey, Rod, is
So-
that the Hobby Boss 172nd?
No, that is Dragon. That's Dragon 135th scale.
Oh, it's 135th. Wow. Okay.
The table is 6 feet long.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big boy, that one. So, and that's part of the reason, that's part of the problem with the weathering. Weathering on something small is relatively easy. That's going to be a combination of everything, oils and airbrushing for dust and whatnot, because the surfaces are just very large.
Yep, that's right.
So yeah.
Nice.
There's a 2A4 Leopard, a Bulldog. So this is the one I was talking about, like the top shelf, literally. Those are the only things I would consider finished at all. Everything else from there down can take anything from, well, you can see the second shelf, actually bottom shelf, most of those white boxes are 3D printed tracks from T-Rex.
I was going to ask, yes.
They are the best thing since sliced bread, bar none. They are fabulous. So I ended up getting a bunch of those. Well, everything that has SAG, T55, 62, not so much the 72, Tiger 2, Tiger, Panther, especially the Panther. So I stocked up on a bunch of those.
Rod, I hope you don't find this offensive, but I really think you have an addiction to this hobby.
Do you think?
Yeah, like
yes,
wow.
actually, you know what? Wait, in all seriousness, I noticed on Sunday I was in a hell of a funk and I couldn't figure it out. And it's because Sunday was my cooking day. I made chili. I made what else? I made a Mexican chicken and lime soup. I had to do housework. I had to do yard work, get ready for the winter. And I realized that it's because what I really wanted to do was get to the bench and paint.
Yeah.
So, I'm not kidding. This is my drug. So whatever. Fine.
Where'd you say you live?
Sudbury, Ontario.
Sudbury, right.
Hey,
yeah.
Falconbridge.
Woo! All right. See, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Are there any hobby stores in Sudbury, Rod?
There's a small one. Yeah, there's one small one out in New Sudbury. Does not cater to models. Typically, caters mostly to the gaming. But he brought in some amazing model kits. Like I got, like I said, I bought the Meng Panther from him.
Oh,
so, and the price point was pretty decent. So it's hit or miss.
Yeah, nothing's replaced D&D.
No. So. It would be nice, but I don't think there's a market for it in Sudbury. I'd love to have something of my own.
Yeah.
I'd be trying my own supply.
Well, before I forget, we're still looking for a face-to-face venue to meet in person. But we have, I've talked to the rest of the exec. We will continue these Zoom calls because clearly they're a benefit to everybody who's not in Toronto. So don't worry about that. These will still be here.
Harvey, regarding venues, is it a lack of possibilities or is it just you can't find something at a good price?
I think it's a bit of both, and everybody's just so busy. We are sorry to interrupt you, Rod. We're close to Fairview Mall and the library, and we just have to get that negotiation going. That's kind of where we're landing. I don't know if David wants to add anything more, but that's about the last step.
There's a couple of places out on my end. There's at the place for the Group 25 at their show, that school, and just down from there, a couple of blocks away, there's a Ukrainian center. I got the phone number.
Well, I think we want it kind of central because we've always been central around North Toronto kind of area. We've always been up here.
Central has seemed really, really far away.
I know for you guys. I know. I get it. Well, for you, Brian, yeah.
Central, right?
I get it.
Yeah.
Fairview Mall is near TTC, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good because I don't have a car.
Yeah, it's right on the last line on the line to nowhere. Yeah. Very cool, Rod.
All right, what's left here?
Right.
Yeah, the aircraft part.
The aircraft, yeah, it's that cabinet's a little light right now.
That's
I'll
okay.
give it time.
You got room to fill it. Zeros.
Oh.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So the Zero. I thought I did my research on the Zero. I thought I had the right light gray, not white. I mean, I knew they weren't white, but I didn't know what the gray was. Turns out it's supposed to be that is the A6M2B.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. What I'm reading now is that it was supposed to be the amber color, not the gray green. What that's going to stay gray green. So,
well, it's too bad you weren't on earlier with us because I did an in-depth with Sam Tegea on Zero colors.
Yeah.
Harvey's an expert on that.
One day late. Yeah.
But
so
you know what? It's close enough. It's you know what I mean. Like.
Hey, that's not the only Zero that I have. So there's going to be a few more coming. Oh yeah.
If you don't have it, reach out to me and I can send you the presentation. Unless we posted it, I can't remember if we did.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay, go to the web. Go to the web and grab it, Rod.
Yeah. It's on our site somewhere.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. So those guys, I mean, the Messerschmitt looked wet, but they're in the final finishing stage. Yeah, that's the bench.
You got a TV there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays.
More kits.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh yeah. So.
My only suggestion is put a little table there for your wife to bring food down for you, like I have. You know,
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
You know, just saying.
Yeah. I tend to agree. So. Yeah,
Well,
and the
thank
Jays are
you,
winning again tonight too.
I got a question about your showcase. Are they 48 inches wide?
Yes. A nominal 48.
Where'd you get them?
Yeah.
I actually got them in Toronto.
Where?
I don't know if I should tell you that.
Oh,
why?
Those guys, I'll tell you. Wait a minute. I'll tell you what. There's a bunch of things. Like what's.
Got cut off.
Oh, he just suddenly drops. Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. No. So. Yeah, I needed a display case, and then you go to any what do you call them, like a buffet or something for holding dishes or something, or weird stuff that comes out of some other place, some other store. Anyways, I found these things online. I can't back and look at the website, but I actually drove down to Toronto to pick them up. Each one of those was $800.
Oh,
ouch!
Yeah.
Ouch! But
That's dedication.
They're nice. Though.
I pulled the trigger on that, and I figured, you know what? Now I got to fill them. I did a quick calculation. I figured if I was to build one model kit out of my stash every week, full time, 40 hours a week, finish one per week, it would take me 4 years of full-time work just to finish what I've got. So the fact that that's not even nearly how quickly I build, I think I'm going to die with a bunch of kits left over. So
well, that's really sad because you're the only person with that problem. All of us don't have that problem.
Yes.
Not
At one time I had over 600 kits.
Unbelievable.
That's what I have, Bill.
Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy, do it.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations, Rod.
Well,
thank
I'm the
you.
only one who doesn't necessarily like just to build kits, but just likes to have the kit in a box and like
Yeah.
A collector.
Totally.
We all do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not just me then.
No.
Oh no.
No, I give them my kids names. It's really neat.
Yeah, Nathan, you're in a safe space here, so don't worry about that.
Exactly. We're all
sometimes it's circumstances. I was looking at buying the Airfix Mosquito, the old one.
Yeah.
It was $10 in our local hobby shop, and I found them in the States for $1 each, so I bought 10.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Wow.
All right. Who's up now? Stuart.
All right, we got Stuart next. And what are the chances? 2 A7s in a night.
Wow. Nice.
Whoa.
Fab.
My first airplane that I really finished. Well, actually done a few, but this is my first jet, I guess. And since the Hobby Boss kit, the 172 scale. The only thing that I've did aftermarket was the Aries cockpit 172 scale, which was you had to really bastardize the insides to make this thing fit, but eventually it gets there. And what I also did was the flaps. I cut them out, so the front and the back, so they would be in the, I guess, landing position, I think.
Yeah.
And in terms of weathering, for the first time I tried using the, getting water, pastels, put them in water as a sludge, and just covered the whole thing. And I wasn't sure how dirty this thing was supposed to be. I knew it's supposed to be a little bit dirty, but I just wiped it off, and it just sort of came together. Probably could have cleaned it even more than I did, but I just thought the way it looked more like it would be on an aircraft in use. And the other thing that I guess happened on Sunday is I wanted to put a clear coat on it. I used a clear gloss coat. No, the semi-gloss, sorry, the semi-gloss, but I didn't cover the windows. So
Oh,
I
no.
kind of fogged them up a bit.
Oh,
It's not too worrisome all that much, I guess, to me anyway.
Well, from here, Stuart, really, I think this is what I seriously mean this. I think this is one of your best, really, from here looking at it. It's really nice. Nice depth, nice panel lines. Nice.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about this one, the way the panel line came out. And now that I know how to do it, it's actually super easy. And I can't believe it took me this long to figure it out. I guess when I saw pictures of people doing it, I thought, oh God, I'm going to really wreck it. But once I did it, just, because I'm using water, so it just came off so easily. And if I made a mistake, I could easily just take it right off. Now, this picture, what I did is I got a picture of a deck, and in the background, I put a picture of just the water, so it looks like it's off the aircraft carrier. So that's as real as I can get it.
That's good.
Yeah. Where did we pick it up, man?
I don't know. It's been a couple months since I was last here, I believe.
It has been.
So this is big. This is a big model. It's 1/16 scale, and yes, the pilot figure, seated pilot figure, is included. I'm probably not going to include him though. But getting down, keep going down.
Wow,
So major assembly is done on this thing, and I was just figuring out how to add extra wiring and rigging bits and stuff like that.
Really cool.
Very cool. What's that? What's that little?
That's
Yeah, what's that?
That is a parachute.
At
first, I thought it was a life raft, but it's actually a parachute. And I thought, well, boy, if I was the guy who was trying to parachute down and I'm only a couple of 100 meters above, I have to reach behind the rotor, get this thing, and I'm going to be dead by the time that I get into the water. But no, it's rather ingenious. If this the sub has to crash dive, the guy pulls a lever, and the rotor head goes flying away.
Oh.
And as it goes, it pulls some cables and it deploys the parachute.
You know which modern helicopter does that? The Soviet Kamov 5.2. The rotors come off and then the pilots eject.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
same thing.
Very cool.
Very cool, Glenn.
So that's how big the rotor blades are. So I'm just toying with the idea of doing this thing partially assembled, because the one thing I found about TACOM and some other large scale thing with large heavy blades is they really put a strain on the rotor head, so they'll crack and break at some point. So I thought I'm going to do this in partial assembly, and I found a period video of this thing being assembled. And they pull things out of watertight containers that are on the deck of the U-boat.
Oh, so that's what you made that thing for?
Yeah. And apparently they did it in about 3 minutes.
So they saw service, Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
Wasn't there wasn't it like Indiana Jones or something? Wasn't there a movie that they had one of these in?
I think you're thinking about James Bond.
James Bond, maybe.
Yeah, the gyro.
Oh, you're thinking of Little Nelly.
Little Nelly, yeah.
This thing was towed behind the sub, though. This was a
Yeah,
kite.
this thing was essentially a kite. It had no power on it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just the rotors turned, and just by the force of the towing vehicle, so they had to maintain 17 to 20 knots or so to keep this thing airborne. So yeah, it gave me a chance to try some different fabric effects, leather effects, and things like this, and stalled for a little bit of time because I had to go into work for doing some training and stuff. And then I thought, well, okay, how am I going to display this? I don't just want to slap it on a wood board or something. And then I saw this video and I thought, well, hey, why don't I just do this thing kind of in partially assembled mode? So then I got the brilliant idea to make one of these watertight containers, and I'll stuff some of the extra rotor blades in. So this is what I came up with. It took 3 days or so to work it together, and a little bit of an imagination and some artistic license. It's kind of the way that they look, but not completely.
Very cool.
And then on the next photo, it shows where things came out of. So the the cap of a Mr. Color paint bottle was the perfect diameter inside and out for what I wanted. And the hatch was from a medical insulin or glucose strip container.
Nice.
The cap was kind of the right shape and the right size, so use that. Scratch build everything around it.
Great.
So the moral of the story is, when you're scratch building, anything is fair game.
You don't need a lathe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I bet you do what I do. We go to the dollar store looking for scratch building.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Stuff that catches your eye.
Yeah.
So now, of course, you're going to have to build a 1/16 scale top of a submarine, right?
Well,
you're going to have at least enough curvature to make sure it looks like a submarine, right?
Don't laugh. Yeah, it's already in process.
Excellent.
So
Yeah,
we'll see it sometime next year.
No, well, I was trying to get it done for the end of this month. Maybe possible. I don't know. I got, the big picture in the back of my brain. Whether I can actually get it done in time, that will remain to be seen. Well, we'll see. But either way, it's an excellent kit. Lots of room for super detailing for anybody who is so inclined. And the price is right. It's only about, I think it was $60. And the thing ends up being about this big. With a pilot figure, and the pilot figure is just stunning in 1/16.
I find TACOM kits are pretty reasonably priced.
They
at least in
are.
terms of their armor and stuff.
Yeah, compared to like Meng or RP, was it the Rye Field models? TACOM is much more affordable. I find.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Just before we go over to the Rochester pictures, Jonathan sent me this while we were live here. This is the picture of the Canadian throat sanitizer that he sent.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Lovely.
Yeah, great.
There you go. And what was this one?
That's USS Olympia in Philadelphia Harbor, and my buddy is standing where Captain Dewey stood. I stood up there, obviously, as well. But the interesting part, I didn't know they used this ship to bring back the unknown soldier for Arlington. And they hit a hurricane mid-Atlantic. And the ship, by this time, they'd taken off the main guns and put a 4-inch at either end. However, the decks were awash with this storm, and she went within 3 degrees of capsizing.
Oh.
And they showed computer animation of it, and I was no way would I want to be on that. So it was something I hadn't realized. But
All right, thank you for that, Jonathan.
Okay, guys.
Brian, let's go to Rochester then.
All right. So several of us wound up in Rochester. I assume Rochester is the kind of place people wind up in. They don't necessarily go there on purpose. There's a show there, and RoCon is what it was called, Rochester, New York. And it's an okay sized show. It was me, Harvey, and Lorenzo. And we actually ended up having a really great time. Everything that day just went great. So the show was good. The vendors were good. We went to, was it Performance Hobbies?
Yeah.
And I think I have a picture of the door there. And, you know, really good show so far. You can go through the slides, I guess, a bit. There's an XB70 that was pretty cool. That was something I saw in the parking lot. That's, guys on the back of the truck.
Typical American.
That would stop tailgaters.
That's for sure.
American.
And let's see, I really liked that War of the Worlds tripod on the right-hand side. I don't think that's a kit. I think that might have been scratch build. The manufacturer says
That
retro
looks too
SF
spindly, yeah.
lifelike. So I think that's the name that somebody gave to their scratch build, but that was really, really good. I enjoyed that. I'm glad I wasn't in the sci-fi category because it was really competitive. This is about the size of the show. This is one side of the room, and the other is the next slide. There you go. And this is early on in the day, so the tables did fill up. Okay, and I think this is Harvey's here. Harvey, was this yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, and
That's
Harvey was in
the-
the super mega masters category for people that are actually good at building models, not the regular jerk category like me. This is my
Is that the Yamato?
one of the sections here, one of the what if sections. And there's a snow speeder. Finally got a medal.
Is that a moose?
Yes, it is. That is a 48 scale moose. That was the hardest part of doing that kit, by the way.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah. I eventually I couldn't find them. There was some train manufacturer did a 48 scale moose, and I couldn't find anyone that had one that would sell it to me. And I eventually just found one in a toy store, and I repainted it and did all that. And Hamilton gave me nothing for that kit, for that build. That's ridiculous. That's first place in its category in Rochester.
Robbed.
Yeah. And you're familiar with that one there.
Right.
Silver? Yeah.
Oh, the markings are cool.
I just took a bunch of random photos. I didn't take 100 or anything.
When was Rochester?
Rochester 2 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And there's my Beast of War tank, and there's the bicycle. And I thought for sure the bike wasn't going to win anything because the category was the retro kit category. And, you know, I looked at what was there, and I was like, oh, crap. Everybody was just amazingly good. Somebody did here, and it looks like an Irish SE5A.
Yeah, that's Jared Brennan's.
Yeah, I told him to talk to the Chieftain guy on YouTube. He does Irish stuff.
Yeah.
And then some of the kits, if you think the naval category is bereft, there was a ton of these things, and they were gigantic and beautiful and amazing. I put my glasses there for scale.
HMS Rodney.
Yeah, I think there were about 300 odd models. It was a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
If you guys are ever out there, do go to this.
Hold on, this one here for a second.
Yeah.
You can look. Where is it here? There's if you look top left, we support your Second Amendment right. Lawfully carried handguns are welcome here. So you can walk in armed to the hobby shop and we're ready to do that. We're in America.
It's a great shop, though. I'll tell you guys.
Yeah, it was quite good. It was quite good. I got a couple of things that you can't get elsewhere in Canada. For
It's an RC shop, but it's a very good store.
They got the perfect plastic putty and stuff like that in there too. So yeah, the show was pretty decently sized, and I had a really great time. There's a Cracker Barrel in the area that's serves a really good lunch.
This is
Oh, that JFK kit's really rare. The figure.
Is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that Aurora figure JFK. Like I've never seen one in real life.
Oh,
That's
that was a
great
kit.
detail, but yeah, that was a kit of John. Yeah, JFK.
Is that Aurora?
Oh, that was an Aurora figure kit. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I wonder if they'll do a Bernie kit.
You can buy the limo as an aftermarket kit.
Doesn't really look like GFT though.
Not too much.
No.
Not. I'm not sliding the modeler. It's just the actual molds.
That was the only by their bicycle on the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
Mhm.
What's that? 72nd scale?
No, that's a ship is like
pretty
maybe
big.
350 or something.
That's 350.
That's probably 350.
There's a lot of 350 ships there.
Is that a TACOM kit, by the way? That thing, whatever it is, I see them
Don't
around.
don't even know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah,
think
that's
it
a
is
TACOM kit. It's 1/72nd scale.
Oh.
I'm looking at one on the shelf here.
They even have one in 1/44th scale too, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And there's your World War thing.
Yeah. Tripod.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
All right. I think that does it for me then. That was the last one we had.
Great. All right. I'm going to show you the mod. Now, some of you have seen this. So I'm going to go over some of the old slides pretty quickly. But since some of you are new here, I'll just start from the beginning and hopefully not take too much of your time. And then I'm going to play one of my stupid videos. So just sit back and relax. Okay. So a lot of people have seen, you've seen that? You see the picture?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the size of the kit. It's big. As I mentioned before, it was 21 pounds to ship from the United States up here. I have no idea what it costs fine scale, but they paid for it, and it's big. It basically, in fact, the box that it came in is just cardboard around this. It can't be bigger because then shipping would be horrendous.
Is it a review kit?
It's a review kit. Yeah, they asked me to build it for them. I originally said no because I just don't do 1/200 ships. But they kind of finagled me, and then I said, well, the only condition is that I send it back to you and you put it on display at fine scale, and they agreed to that. So I said, all right, because of that, ironically, you give the kit to me, but I'm going to send it back to you. So it'll be in some display case in Waukesha, Wisconsin when it's done.
When I was hanging out with the IPMS Seattle guys, they were like, "Oh, you should join IPMS USA because then you can do review kits and you get free kits." But then they didn't tell me that. They're like, "Oh." I signed up and then it was like, oh, we don't ship to Canada. I was like, oh.
Well, they typically don't. Like AMPS is, I don't think they do that much either, big kits. Yeah. But if
it's just disappointing.
Just saying, if a magazine wants you to, they want it, so they'll ship it to you, right? But yes, you're right. IPMS USA, typically the companies will not ship to Canada. The only way around that is to get a US mailbox and go down to the States, which I do. But they ship this one directly to me, so I was grateful. This is not mine. This is just a couple of pictures of this one's 1/10 scale in Japan, and I'll show you more in the video. But I just want to give you a sense that this Yamato, they say, is probably the most accurate because a whole bunch of research went into this thing, and it's just a beautiful model to look at. It's big. And you can see these are the pillars, and so a person would be down here. It's just such a beautiful thing. This is the models that it's sub-assemblies in the kit. There's about 16 frets of PE. There's maybe 1,000+ parts. It's just insane. That's the instruction booklet, fairly thick. That's a sample of the instructions. It's incredibly detailed, much better than the Chimo, the old Nichimo kit.
What's the manufacturer?
It's Gallery Models, but for all intents and purposes, it's Trumpeter. The theory has it that they applied a new name so they could get loans. In China, they give loans to new companies. So they created this company to get some grants and loans. That's what the rumor is. But it's just
isn't iHeart Models also from Trumpeter?
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay.
So
that's what it looks like out of the box. You can see that it comes like assembled with these metal brackets. So it's right out of the box like that. Well, you do have to glue it, but
are the Trumpeter ships any good?
A hit and miss. I think one of the biggest problems with them is their hull detail is way too overdone, and this kit is one example. So I had to sand off all the hull. It was just way too thick.
Okay, I'm not really an expert on ships. I've always wanted to build a 1/350 scale HMS Warspite, and I was looking at a kit.
Yeah, who does the Warspite? I don't know. I
think Trumpeter does. That's why I was asking.
Airfix?
Just watch.
Trumpeter does one.
Just watch the hulls. The hulls can be thick. That's another example of 1/10 model and I'm standing there, pointed the camera up, so it's pretty big. That's my old 1/700. So sitting inside the hull of the 1/200 Yamato. That's kind of what it looks like on the bench. Here's sanding the hull detail down. The only problem in the kit so far is the hull didn't mate up with the deck too well, and I had to use this large clamp at the forward section. Otherwise, it's a pretty good fit. Now, these are the pictures you haven't seen. This is the conning tower. I think there's about 8 to 10 stories in real life, and this little structure here has, I lost count, it's probably got about 125 parts alone on this thing. And you better love photo etch, because Jonathan, you'd agree that shipbuilding is about photo etch. You can't get away from
using the super glue Are you using super glue or are you using like a MIG kind of like white glue kind of thing?
I'm using several. If the PE part fits exactly, then I'll just use straight super glue. If you need time to position it, I'll use epoxy putty. There are some parts like the radar, which I use Bondic. Bondic is that that glue that uses PV lights or whatever. You can get at a Canadian Tire.
I was going to say, yeah,
right. And you use it to set apart, and then you reinforce it with CA glue. So those are the 3 glues I use.
Okay, I was just curious because with armor I'm mostly using the MIG Ultra glue, which is almost like a white glue, but the only time it doesn't work is if there's something that like really, if there's a part that doesn't want to stay down or something, it's not very strong.
Right. The only way you can go around that is anchor it at one end with a good super glue and then work from there. Don't put the super glue all down and get the part and work from one end to the other. The other super glue I forgot to mention, which I don't really use on this, but on aircraft, is Despate makes what they call a black super glue with accelerator. You can find it on AliExpress, and they're fine to order from it. I got mine, and it's really tough. And you can see what you're doing because it's black. It's made by Despate. Excuse me. This is the main superstructure coming together. Gives you a sense of the size of this thing. 1/200 scale. And it's mostly out of box. I had to do some new work on the radar because it just didn't look right in the kit. But be reminded, guys, although there's a lot of Yamato experts out there, guess what? There's no photos of this ship up close. None. So you might hear from these guys on the web and you go, no, but how do you know that? There's no photos of the ship up close.
That's amazing. There's no photos of it up close.
Sorry?
That's just incredible that there's no close-up photos of it.
No, there's none. Excuse me. So that's why all of this is speculative when you think about it. That gives
It must
you
have taken them years to build it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't take pictures.
No.
Well, it was secrecy right of the war.
I guess that's true, yeah.
And they won out because they didn't want the Americans and the Allies to know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
That's the lattice. I mean, that's photo etch wires. That's radar's photo etch.
And Harvey.
Yeah.
How do you never ever make a mistake? I don't understand.
Well, guys, I don't mean to manipulate. I for some reason my eyesight is shit when it comes to distance. It's not great, but for modeling, I don't know. Somebody up there blessed me with good eyes. I can see things out of alignment by about 1 millimeter. It's just weird. Like my wife's putting a frame on the wall. I said that's off by 2 millimeters, and she goes, "No, it's not." And then we measure it, and it is. I just have an eye for it. It's just unlucky, I guess. That's the one I'm doing. Now, why am I showing this? If you notice, there's black on the turret and on the deck. I've never seen the Yamato done in this scheme, but there's now evidence from Japan that proves that she had this scheme. That was essentially the soot from the smokestack mixed with gray paint to apply camouflage. They only did time for the forward turret, and they did some on the deck. You can see it here, and so these are only these rough photos, but that's what I'm going to do, that scheme, because I think it's really interesting. This looks horrible, but it's the modulation that I'm applying to the hull.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it looks horrible, but once you start filtering paints over it, it's got a really good depth. So if you guys are wanting to do modulation, you have to be like totally like let's groove and let's do the disco thing, because if you don't, it's too subtle and you lose it. You have to have this contrast. It's easier to take down than this build up. And these are all the colors I used. And once you get, I don't have a picture of once I've done, because I've painted it now. It looks much better than this garish look. And now I'm going to play.
Is that all airbrushed?
Yeah, it's all airbrushed through these mask things, mask sets.
Now, dumb question, why would it be modeled like that?
Well, because it's a single color, and artistically, you just want it in a 200 hull. You need that variation in depth and color to make it interesting looking. And if you look at the hull of these ships, whether it be Yamato or somebody else, they did wear down, and you can see the variation in colors in old photos. You can actually see it. To have one singular color is not accurate, and it doesn't really give any interest to people looking at your model. So you really have to do this.
seriously, do you think they had time to change color by the time by its poor lifetime?
Well, yeah, you know what I did is I just I did this in a whole afternoon because I'm not on a bit of an artificial deadline. The only way I can take photos of this beast is in my backyard. I don't have room in my photo studio. And so I'm desperately trying to get it done so I can take shots of it and send it off to fine scale. I'm targeting end of November. I've been at it 2 months. It's pretty well built. I just have to paint it now. So, but I had to do
It's
this.
amazing.
You just keep loading the airbrush.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm new, so I'm guessing you do a lot of ships.
No, I don't actually. Most of my stuff is armor and aircraft.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
I do kind of a little of everything, but my theme is World War II. But mostly I would say it's aircraft and armor. Very few ships, but yes, I do the odd ship. Now, I'm going to share this video just for fun. So
Harvey.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. When you are painting, are you just using a regular like fine needle airbrush or using one of those?
Yeah. For the hull, no, that's a good question. For the hull, I'm using a 0.5, quite a large needle because it's such a huge palette.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's share my screen.